Hey everybody, welcome back to Idiot Proof Cooking. Now if you're new to the channel, my name is Will and I make simple and easy to follow recipes that I would consider are idiot proof. After all, if an idiot like me can make it, you certainly can. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know the drill. So today I'm going to be making some soup, specifically Italian wedding soup. Why, you might ask? Really just because I like that and I want to make it. It's, you don't always need some kind of like grand inspiration for what you want to make. It can be as simple as I want to make that because it's good and it's easy. And that's what I'm going off of today. Now, one thing I do notice is if you buy a can of it, and let's be honest, buying a can of soup is way more idiot proof than making it yourself. But there's always a lack of ingredients in there. Not enough meat, not enough noodles, not enough vegetables. So I'm going to make sure that mine's fully stocked today. So without any further ado, why don't we get into it? Okay, so let's get starting this Italian wedding soup. The first thing we're going to do is make the meatballs. Now you can buy just pre-made meatballs from the grocery store if you want, and those will work fine, but I think it's going to be a lot more fun and rewarding to make our own. And in order to make our own, we're going to need the holy trinity of meats in order to make these Italian meatballs: ground pork, ground beef, and ground veal. Now you don't have to use all three if you want, but this is typically what you would use to make Italian meatballs. So put them into the mixing bowl very carefully, and then it's time to add in some spice. I'm going to use about 3 tablespoons of dried parsley, put that in, and then about 1.5 tablespoons of dried oregano. Then I'm going to add in a whole cup of Italian breadcrumbs, pour that in alongside everything else, and then add in a pinch or 2 of kosher salt. Then you're going to want to add in some freshly ground black pepper. I'm just putting in a couple twists of it. Next in is the garlic. Now I'm going to use 3 cloves and I'm just going to mince it here with my garlic press, put that in with everything else, and then it's time to add in 1 large egg to bind this all together. Now it's pretty straightforward. Just start mixing it with your hands, or you can use like a wooden spoon if you want, but I'm just using my hands. It mixes easier that way. Mix this for a couple minutes till it's all incorporated together, like you can see I've done here. Once that's done, we're going to get ourselves a baking sheet. There we go. And then it's time to start making these meatballs. Now what I'm going to do is just roll them in my hand and make them to be about 3/4 of an inch to about 1 inch in size, like that. Look at that, that's nice and perfect size. So it's pretty straightforward. Do this with your entire batch of ground meat until you make enough meatballs. Now as you can see, using a 1/2 pound of each, I've gotten 31 meatballs out of this. So this is going to be a really meaty soup, but that's what I want, really. Like I said in the intro, I'm going to jam-pack this full of ingredients. And speaking of ingredients, let's talk about the vegetables we're going to put in this soup. Now normally an Italian wedding soup really just uses spinach, but I'm going to throw in a mirepoix, because when has a mirepoix ever made something taste bad? So start off with a large white onion, a couple stalks of celery, I'm using 2, and 2 carrots. Now with any mirepoix, you're going to want to dice all of your vegetables up very finely, very finely. So I'm starting off with the onions, doing the little onion trick to cut them nice and finely. There we go. I'm trying out my new Nakiri. I just got this in and I'm pretty pumped. It cuts through vegetables really nicely. So there we go. Cutting up the onions, throwing them into a bowl. Moving on to the celery. Now again, like I said, cut it finely, so I've cut the stalks in half. As you can see, Rose is inspecting my work. Throw those into the bowl as well, and then move on to the carrots. Again, cut them in half because you want these nice and fine. That's what a mirepoix is, really finely cut celery, carrots, and onion. So there we go. We're starting off with a mirepoix, and just look at them. Those are going to just make this soup taste so good, so good. So now that we've got that dealt with, let's head into the kitchen and start making the soup. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is get out your large Dutch oven, throw it on a medium-high heat, and throw some olive oil in, because the plan is to cook the meatballs first. Now, we're not going to cook them all the way through. They will cook a little bit in the soup, but you want to brown these up first. So I'm going to have to cook these in 2 batches, as you can see, because I made too many. So you're going to want to fry these for 7 to 10 minutes until they start to brown up, and you can flip them a couple times through just to make sure that all sides have been cooked. Once they are cooked, then you're going to want to carefully take them out, because we have to cook the rest of them. Like I said, I had to cook these in 2 batches. I just made too many. But again, this is going to make a really meaty soup. Once you've cooked all your meatballs and taken them out, it's time to start cooking the mirepoix. So add that into the Dutch oven and start stirring it around and frying it for, about 5-6 minutes until it becomes nice and soft and really fragrant. Like, you'll be able to tell that it's cooked, one, because it'll look soft as you can see there, but it'll really, like the smells off of it will be just really, really aromatic. Once they have been fried, it's time to add in some garlic. Now, I'm going to use 3 cloves. You can use less or more depending on if you like garlic or not. Once you add the garlic in, you're going to want to stir it around and let it cook for about a minute. It'll become really aromatic, similar to the mirepoix. Once the garlic is ready to go, it's time to start adding in your chicken stock. Now, this is a large soup recipe, so you're going to need 12 cups of chicken stock. Yes, that's 12 cups. Or, 3 boxes of the pre-boxed chicken stock. That's what I'm using. Well, yeah, 12 cups. It's going to make a lot of soup for you. So once the chicken stock's in, give everything a quick stir around, and then it's time to start adding in our noodles. Specifically, acini di pepe, which are those tiny little noodle balls that you find in Italian wedding soup. I'm using a whole cup of them. Again, mix that around once you add them in, and then it's time to start adding back in your meatballs. Now, like I said earlier, these will cook a little bit more in the soup because we're going to let this simmer for a bit. So you don't need to fry them all the way through on your initial cook. So the next step is throw the lid on your Dutch oven and simmer on a medium heat for 30 to 45 minutes until the meatballs are cooked through and the acini di pepe is cooked as well. So there we go. After about 40 minutes, I've taken the lid off, and look at how gorgeous that looks. Alright, so the last ingredient in is 2 cups of baby spinach, which is the traditional vegetable in Italian wedding soup. So anyways, throw 2 cups in and let it simmer for another 5 minutes. Oh, did you see Meg coming to inspect the soup? She could smell it from the other room and really wanted to try it. But anyways, like I said, simmer this for an additional 5 minutes. Spinach takes like no time at all to cook. And then once it has been cooked, there you go, look at that. This soup is done and ready to go. Look at how just stocked full it is. Oh my god, it looks so good. And it smells even better. Like, oh my god, I can't wait to crack into this. As you can see, I'm ladling myself out some, and it's time to go out and do the taste test. I am pumped to try this. Okay, so here we go. We got a nice large bowl of Italian wedding soup. Let me give you a quick close-up here. As you can see, like I said, it's fully stocked. Now, I think the meatballs might be a little bit too big, but let's get into that in a minute. I'm going to throw a little bit of grated Parmesan on top, too. I think that's going to be really, really good on this soup. So, anyways, here we go. First test. And you know what? Let's go in for just the broth and the noodles, and oh yeah, that is really good. That's really good. Now let's try these gigantic meatballs. I tried to aim for 3/4 of an inch to an inch, and as you can see, they're still 2 biters. They are fantastic though, let me tell you. They are just very rich and very meaty and so good. But they are 2 or 3 biters, so in hindsight, maybe aim for them to be like a 1/2 inch or 1/4 of an inch big. I was aiming for 3/4 of an inch to an inch big, and they seem to be a little bit too big. But regardless how big you make them, if you use the veal, the ground beef, and the ground pork, they are going to be so good because these are just so flavorful. And you know what? Adding the mirepoix in was the right call because it just greatly enhanced the flavor. Like, it was so good. So good. Like I said in the intro, when has a mirepoix ever made something bad? No, it was really the right call adding that in. But just overall, this soup was so good, guys, and so easy to make. Like, you saw it. It was not that hard to put together. I would highly recommend you trying it at home. But anyways, that's the end of the episode. I hope you liked what you saw here today. If you did, drop me a comment, like the video, or even subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching Idiot Proof Cooking. We'll see you again soon.